Hey guys, it's 6.6. This is the last one. I'm sad. It's okay though. You guys have worked hard, 5 weeks. This is the 6th week and it's the last one. There will be a final exam and I'll do a video on that. I'll send something out for that as well. But for now, this is the last thing we have to learn about, and it's just an extension of factoring. So if we go over here and write a little step 1. The idea is for all these equations, we need everything on one side. So we need to move all terms to one side. What that does is that it allows us to have equal to 0 is the idea we want. And then we do factoring, right? Which is what we've been doing. So it's just more of the same. But then after you do factoring, you're going to split them up. Split up the factors equal to 0. So this is the idea, is that if everything's on one side and it's equal to 0, then we can factor that side, get it into 2 pieces, and then we can split them up and have them both equal to 0, and then solve. So what's left over is going to be a nice little linear equation, which you know how to do now, right? It's from chapter 2. So if you need to go back and look at that, you should do that. Number 1 I put on here just as a sort of, this is the last thing, the last 2 steps. So we have 2 factors in parentheses equal to 0. So somebody's already factored. Somebody's got everything on one side and factored it, and now we're going to do split them up. That's the idea. So we hit x minus 2 equal to 0. Put a little bar here, like a wall. And then x plus 5 equal to 0. So that's splitting it up. And then we solve. And this is a nice just one-step equation. Add 2 to both sides and you get 2. And over here you subtract 5 to both sides and you get negative 5. Right? So those are the 2 answers for this problem. And that was all you have to do for number 1. Number 2 is also set up the same way. X times x plus 13. But the reason why I put this on here is because this is what you get when you do a GCF factoring problem. So if you do GCF and you get x by itself like this, yes, you have to set it equal to 0 like that. Now there's nothing to do with him, so we just circle him. X is equal to 0 is an answer. X plus 13 equal to 0, yes, we subtract 13 from both sides and we get x is equal to negative 13, right? So both of these are answers for number 2. Okay. Number 3. Now, this is where we're going to start up from the beginning of our steps. So we start off with x squared minus x equal to 20. And the idea here is that everything is not on one side. We have these 2 on the left side, but this guy's on the right. He's not 0. So I need to subtract him. And he doesn't have anybody to combine with, so I'm just kind of put him right up here, you know. So that'll end up giving me x squared minus x minus 20, and then that'll be equal to 0, because, you know, those will cancel. All right, now we have everything to one side equal to 0. What you're going to do is you're going to factor this guy, this side. Forget about equal to 0 for now. So x squared minus x minus 20, I would go off to the side and I would do a little x method because there's no number in front. Negative 1 is the number that's in the middle. Negative 20 is the last number. And then I say, what 2 numbers multiply to give me 20 and subtract to give me negative 1? So I think about the numbers that multiply to give me 20, like 5 and 4. Oh, 5 and 4. And the larger number has to match the top, so negative 5, positive 4. That should work for both, yes. So x minus 5 for negative 5, and x plus 4 for positive 4. And now we're at a thing like number 1. So this is the first step, moving it to one side, and the second step is to factor. And that's what I did here. Now I split them up. X minus 5 equal to 0. X plus 4 equal to 0. And then I do the opposite. I add 5. And I subtract 4. You get positive 5 and negative 4 are your 2 answers. Okay? All right, so I'm going to go over here. So number 4, everything is already on one side. X squared plus 5x minus 36. So you can skip step number 1 since everything's set up for you there. And then we're just going to factor this. So I don't know if you like the dotted lines or not, but whatever you want to do, marking it just the left side is what you're working with. Don't include equal to 0 when you factor. So when we factor, we're going to do a little x, again, no number in front, plus times, positive 5 on the top, negative 36 in the bottom. And then I go, what two numbers multiply to give me 36, but subtract to give me 5? I'm not sure right away. So I go, okay, what about 2 and 18? No. 3 and 12? No. 4 and 9? That's it. 4 and 9. Now again, it's negative 36, so one of them's got to be negative. The larger number is the same as the top, so it looks like 4 is going to be negative. Okay? And sometimes that's what you got to do. You don't know what the numbers are right away. You just say 36 divided by 2, 36 divided by 3, 36 divided by 4, until you find it. Okay, so negative 4 becomes x minus 4. Positive 9 becomes x plus 9 equal to 0. And then we split them up. X minus 4 equal to 0. Wall. X plus 9 equal to 0. And then we solve each one. It's usually just one nice little step. Add 4. You get x equal to 4. And then subtract 9. And you get x equal to negative 9. Oh, I missed it. Okay, hold on. Here we go. That's why I use pencil. But I didn't. I used pen. And that's the end of number 4. Number 5. Okay. This one's on here for a reason. Let's talk about that reason when we get there. We start off with 2x squared minus 16x plus 30 equal to 0. So everybody's on one side. Yay! And the next thing you want to do is factor. Now, with this guy, we could look at it and say, oh, there's 3 terms and there's a number in front, so I'm going to have to use the snowflake. But that's wrong, because you forgot the thing that you're supposed to do first, which is GCF. They all have a 2 in common. So if you divide each one of them by 2, you're going to be left with x squared minus 8x plus 15. And that guy you're going to use the x method with, because there's no number in front. Okay, so we're going to do that x method. Times. Negative 8's here, 15's here. We go, what two numbers multiply to give me 15 and add to give me negative 8? It's negative 5 and negative 3. Okay, so x minus 5 from him, and then x minus 3 from him. That's equal to 0. Don't forget your 2, although when it comes to equations, if you just have a single number GCF, it doesn't matter, because what happens is 2 gets set equal to 0 according to step number 3, right? It is a factor. But then that doesn't make any sense. Huh? So just x through it and don't worry about it, okay? He sucks. But x minus 5 equal to 0 gives you x equal to positive 5, right? We just add 5 to both sides. And then x minus 3 equal to 0 gives you positive 3. For the same reason. So you still have 2 answers even though you have 3 factors, because that third factor is a single number. He doesn't give you anything as far as answers, solutions. Okay. Number 6. We have 16x squared equal to 36. If you're going to work this problem, you might be tempted to do something from your past, which is getting x squared by itself and then taking the square root. I don't know if that's rummaging around in your brain or not, but don't do that. Just because we haven't talked about it and it's not in this class. You'll do it in intermediate algebra, but for now, we're going to follow our 4 steps. Subtract everything to one side, or add, do the opposite. So we're going to subtract 36 over here, equal to 0. And if you need to see that, if you need to write it, please write it, you know, like that. Great. And then we go, okay, well, I've got 2 terms, and they do have a GCF, so let's pull that out first. Now, let's see. 16 go into 36 at all? No. It goes into 32. What about 8? Does 8 work? No. No, not quite. 8 goes into 32 as well. And so, let's see. 4, I think, would be the next one. 4? Yes, 4. So we're going to divide each one by 4. And we're going to be left with 4x squared minus 9. Yeah? And then, ooh, two terms, there are two squares with a minus sign, so that does factor into those two. Bring down your 4. And this breaks down into 2x and 2x, right? 4x squared. And this breaks out into 3 and 3. And then we're going to do plus minus, right? That's, if you need to see that, go back to the previous module, week 5. And that's going to talk about how to find the factoring of difference of two squares right at the beginning of that video. All right, so here we have 4 equal to 0, which doesn't mean anything, so I'm going to X through it. I don't need that guy. 2x plus 3 equal to 0, and 2x minus 3 equal to 0. Should give me very similar answers, but with the signs are different, right? Let's just see. Negative 3, negative 3. Divide by 2, divide by 2, and we get x is equal to negative 3/2. You can leave it like that. All right, over here, add 3, you get positive 3. And then divide by 2 on both sides, and you get positive 3/2. So almost the same answer, but different signs. That's what you have when you have difference of two squares when you're solving the equation. All right, 9x squared minus 7x equal to 0. I love the ones that start off everybody on one side, so I don't have to worry about that. Now, there's only two terms here, and there is a minus sign, and this guy's a square, but this guy's not. He's, making everything bad for everybody. But you're not even supposed to look for difference of squares first. What are you supposed to look for first? The GCF. So with these two, the GCF is just x. There's no number that goes into both of these, but they do both have an x, and the smaller power is 1. So we're going to divide by x out of both of them. And we have 9x minus 7. Okay. Now I can split them up. X equal to 0 gives me an answer. Now that's different from a number where it doesn't give me an answer. X equal to 0 is an answer. 9x minus 7 equal to 0 is going to be a little two-step problem. Add 7, 9x equal to 7, and then divide by 9. And it doesn't go evenly, so we're just going to leave it like a fraction. 7/9. Boom. All right. Number 8, and is that the last one? Oh, it's the last one. We have 2x squared minus 5x minus 7 equal to 0. And everything's on one side. Yay, we're going to factor. Now there's 3 terms. They don't have a common factor, GCF, so we're going to have to use the snowflake because there's a number in front. So off to the side, draw a snowflake, plus times. Negative 5 goes up here, and then 2 times negative 7 goes down here. So negative 14. All right, so I need two numbers that multiply to give me 14 and subtract to give me 5, and that's 7 and 2. The larger number matches the top with sign, and there you go. Now with snowflake, we got to put that first number above each one, so there we go. And then any fraction that cannot be reduced is circled. And any fraction that can be reduced gets reduced. And in this case, 2 over 2 becomes 1 over 1. And I don't know if you remember, but the way we factor this, the top to bottom, and then it goes left to right. So 2x is first because of the 2, and then minus 7 because that's second. And then 1x plus 1 from this guy. All right. And that was the hard part. Now we're going to split them up. 2x minus 7 equal to 0. X plus 1 equal to 0. Here I'm going to add 7. 7. And then divide by 2. If you need to see it, there you go. We get 7/2. Circle. Here just subtract 1 and we get negative 1. And that is how you do equations by factoring. And that's the last thing we're going to talk about in beginning algebra. Be on the lookout for a final exam review. I'll see you then.